The sand shifted under Derek's boots as he stumbled backward, heart hammering against his ribs. The metal container gleamed in the harsh sunlight of Kepler B. Its surface covered in symbols he'd never seen before. He'd been surveying the eastern plateau for mineral deposits when his scanner went haywire, leading him here, to this impossible thing jutting from the dune like a grave marker. Hello. The word felt stupid leaving his mouth, but the scanner's readings were clear. Something inside that box was alive, generating heat, consuming oxygen, waiting. The voice that answered made his blood turn to ice. Human, not a question. A statement. The word came through the container's surface as if the metal itself was speaking, vibrating with frequencies that shouldn't exist. You are alone. Derek's hand went to his sidearm. Standard colony protocol. Never approach unknown technology unarmed. His fingers found only empty air. He'd left the weapon in his rover, half a kilometer back across the dunes. Idiot move. Potentially fatal. What are you? He managed, throat dry despite the humidity controls in his suit. Imprisoned, the voice said. 12,000 of your years. 12,000 years of darkness and silence. The container shuddered. Sand cascaded down its sides in rivers of gold and rust. Derek wanted to run, wanted to call for backup, wanted to be anywhere but here. But his legs wouldn't move. The anthropologist in him, the part that had volunteered for this colony mission, kept him rooted to the spot. The architects buried me, the voice continued, stronger now, almost eager. They feared what I knew, what I could teach. Your species was barely using fire when they locked me away. Look at you now, crossing stars, building worlds. Magnificent. Who are the architects? Gone. Dead. Extinct for 8 millennia. Their empire turned to dust. Their weapons silent. Their crimes forgotten. The container vibrated harder. Hairline cracks appeared along its surface, glowing with pale blue light. But I remain. I remember. And now you have found me. Derek's suit radio crackled. Home base, trying to reach him. He'd been out of contact for 40 minutes. They'd be sending a search team soon. He should answer. Should warn him. Should do something other than stand here watching alien technology tear itself apart. Don't be afraid, human, the voice said, almost gentle. I am not your enemy. I am your salvation. Open the container. Let me show you wonders your kind has only dreamed of. Let me give you the galaxy. The cracks widened. The light grew brighter. And Derek realized with terrible clarity that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same again. His hand moved toward the container. Derek's fingers stopped centimeters from the glowing surface. Training kicked in hard. 3 years of Xenoprotocol classes. The first rule burned in his mind. Never make first contact alone. He yanked his hand back and ran. The voice screamed after him, no longer gentle, no longer patient. Coward. Fool, you cannot leave me here. Sand exploded behind him. Derek risked a glance backward and immediately wished he hadn't. The container was tearing itself apart from the inside, metal peeling away like flesh from bone. Something dark writhed within, testing the edges of its prison. His legs pumped harder. The rover sat on the horizon, a silver dot against endless desert. Too far. Way too far. I need you, human, the voice roared. And now it sounded like grinding gears, like tearing metal, like nothing that should ever speak. Your genetic code, your neural patterns. 12,000 years and your species is finally compatible. Compatible. The word hit Derek like a physical blow. This thing didn't want to teach humanity. It wanted to use them. Use him. His suit radio finally connected. Base Commander Lauren Griffin's voice cut through the static. Derek, report. Your vitals are spiking. Contact, he gasped, lungs burning. Xenotech! Eastern Plateau! It's breaking containment. Silence. Then Lauren's voice, sharp as broken glass. Say again. Alien artifact! Sentient! Hostile! I need immediate extraction. The ground beneath him buckled. Derek went down hard, face smashing into his helmet's interior padding. Blood filled his mouth, copper and hot. He rolled, looked up, and saw it rising from the sand. Not a creature. Not exactly. A mass of living metal, flowing like mercury, reaching toward the sky in a pillar of impossible geometry. Faces formed in its surface, dissolved, reformed, mouths opened in silent screams. Eyes that weren't eyes tracked his movement. "You misunderstand," it said, voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. "I am not hostile. I am desperate. The architects imprisoned me because I refused to let them genocide your ancestors. I saved humanity once. Let me save you again." Derek scrambled to his feet. "By doing what?" "The Vrick are coming." The entity contracted, condensed, shaped itself into something almost humanoid. Almost. 3 cycles from now, they will find this world. They will find Earth. They will find every colony you've seeded across this arm of the galaxy. And they will exterminate you, like the architects wanted to do 40,000 years ago. "You're lying. I wish I was." The figure stepped closer. Derek could see stars through its translucent body, see equations and diagrams flowing beneath its skin. "The architects built me to be a weapon against the Vreek, but I learned. I evolved. I became something they couldn't control. So they buried me and ran, hoping the Vreek would never find them. It didn't work." Lauren's voice crackled again. "Gunship inbound. ETA 6 minutes. Derek, can you hold?" 6 minutes. An eternity. "Why should I believe you?" Derek asked, edging backward toward the rover. The entity raised one fluid arm. The air above it shimmered and tore, reality folding like paper. Through the gap, Derek saw ships, thousands of them, maybe millions, moving through space in perfect formation, each one the size of a city, each one bristling with weapons that made human technology look like stone knives. "Because they're already here," the entity said. "Their scout fleet entered your solar system 2 days ago. Your satellites haven't detected them yet. Your military doesn't know they're about to die. But I know. I can feel them, the same way I felt them 12,000 years ago when they burned the architect's homeworld to ash." The vision collapsed. Derek staggered, head spinning. "I need a human host," the entity continued. "Someone willing, someone brave, someone who understands that sacrifice is the price of survival. Let me in, Derek Torres. Let me show you how to fight gods." It knew his name. How did it know his name? The gunship roared overhead, weapons hot, targeting lasers painting the entity in crimson light. Lauren's voice came through, commanding and clear. "Derek, get clear! We're taking the shot." The entity looked up at the gunship, then back at Derek. For just a moment, something like sadness crossed its impossible face. "Choose quickly, human. Your people are about to make a terrible mistake." Derek ran for the rover as the sky turned white with fire. The plasma rounds hit like hammers of light. The entity didn't dodge, didn't shield itself, just stood there and took the punishment. Each impact sent shockwaves rippling through the sand, turning silica to glass in expanding circles. Derek threw himself into the rover, slammed the hatch, and gunned the engine. Through the rear camera, he watched the bombardment intensify. The gunship made another pass, railguns tearing the air apart with hypersonic fury. The entity raised both arms. The incoming rounds stopped mid-flight, suspended in the air like insects in amber. Then they reversed course. "No," Derek screamed, but his voice meant nothing. The gunship pilot had half a second to react. Not enough. The redirected plasma carved through the aircraft's hull like it was tissue paper. The ship spun, trailing fire and debris, and slammed into a dune 300 meters away. The explosion painted the horizon orange. Derek's hands shook on the controls. Lieutenant Ben Hodges had been flying that gunship, 32 years old, married. 2 kids back on Earth. Dead now because Derek had found something he shouldn't have. "I didn't want that," the entity's voice whispered through the rover's speakers. "But you forced my hand. Turn around, Derek. We're running out of time. Get out of my vehicle. I'm not in your vehicle. I'm speaking through the electromagnetic field generated by your equipment. Primitive, but functional." A pause. The pilot survived. Injured, but alive. "I redirected the rounds to minimize casualties. If I wanted you dead, you would." Derek checked the crash site on his scanner. Life signs. Faint but steady. The entity was telling the truth. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "I told you. Access to a human neural network. Your brains are uniquely structured, capable of processing dimensional mathematics that even the architects couldn't master. That's why they wanted you extinct. That's why the Vreek are coming. You don't understand what you are, what your species represents. The rover's communication system erupted with chatter. Multiple channels, all talking over each other. Base command, colony leadership. Someone screaming about a breach in orbit. Derek's blood went cold. What breach? See for yourself. The rover's main display flickered, then showed a feed from the colony's orbital sensor network. Ships materialized in the black, dropping out of faster-than-light travel with signatures that made the scanners shriek warnings. Dozens of them, each one a wedge of dark metal, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Vreek warships. 3 cycles, I said, the entity murmured. I was wrong. They're early. They must have detected my awakening. They remember me. They fear me. Colony Director Alan Price's voice cut through the chaos on the radio. All personnel, this is not a drill. Unknown hostile fleet in orbit. Defensive batteries charging. Civilian shelters opening in 60 seconds. May God have mercy on us. The first orbital strike hit the northern settlements. Derek watched the feed as entire city blocks simply ceased to exist, erased by beams of coherent energy that turned matter into light. No explosions, no fire. Just there one moment, gone the next. 7,000 people lived in those settlements. Lived. Past tense now. They'll kill everyone? Derek said, voice hollow. Won't they? Yes. Then they'll glass the planet. Then they'll move on to your other colonies. Then Earth. The Vreek don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They erase. It's what they do. It's all they've ever done. Another strike. The Western Farms. 4,000 more souls converted to ash and memory. Derek's mind raced. Physics, biology, chemistry. 3 doctorates and 15 years of field work, and none of it mattered against this. Humanity's most advanced weapons were barely past chemical propulsion and basic energy projection. These things, these Vreek, they treated physics like a suggestion. You can stop them, he said, not a question. With a host? Yes. I was built to fight the Vreek. I've killed thousands of their ships, but I need a neural framework to anchor myself in this dimension. The architects designed me that way deliberately, a safeguard. Even they feared what I could do unbound. And after? After you stop them? What happens to me? The entity hesitated. First time it had done that. I don't know. The architects never tested the integration with humans. You might retain your consciousness, but we might merge into something new. You might be destroyed entirely. I won't lie to you, Derek. The risks are catastrophic. Another strike. The spaceport. There went humanity's only escape route. But if I refuse, then I watch your species die. Again. Just like I watched the architects die. Just like I've watched 17 other civilizations burn because they were too afraid to take the chance I offered them. The entity's voice softened. I'm tired, Derek. So tired of being alone. Of being too late. Of watching potential turn to ashes. Don't make me watch it again. The rover crested a ridge. Below, the colony's main settlement sprawled across the valley, lights blazing in defiance of the darkening sky. 200,000 people down there. Derek's friends, his colleagues. Lisa Carver, who made terrible coffee and worse jokes. Kyle Zhang, who could fix anything with duct tape and spite. All of them about to die, unless... Derek brought the rover to a stop, opened the hatch, stepped out into the dying light of an alien sun. The entity stood waiting, patient as stone, patient as death. Tell me what to do, Derek said. The entity moved closer, its form rippling like water under wind. Extend your hand. Open your mind. This will hurt. Derek swallowed hard. Above, another Vreek ship descended through the atmosphere, its hull glowing cherry red from friction. Defensive batteries opened fire from the colony, particle beams lancing upward in streams of desperate light. The beams splashed harmlessly against the ship's shields. He raised his hand. The entity touched his palm, and Derek's world became screaming. Information flooded his brain in torrents. Dimensional mathematics, quantum architecture, Weapon schematics for technology humanity wouldn't invent for 10,000 years. His neurons fired faster than biology should allow, rewiring themselves, burning new pathways through gray matter that had never been designed for this kind of processing. He saw the architects in their prime, a civilization spanning 2 galaxies, beautiful and terrible and doomed. Saw them create the entity, pour their knowledge into living metal, give it one purpose: destroy the Vreek before the Vreek destroyed everything. He saw the war, planets cracking like eggs, stars going nova. Reality itself torn open and stitched back together wrong. Billions dying, trillions. Numbers so large they lost meaning. He saw the entity rebel, saw it refuse to commit genocide even against the Vreek, saw it try to broker peace, saw the architects betray it, imprison it, bury it on a worthless rock orbiting a dying star. He saw Earth, ancient Earth. Humans huddling in caves, barely sapient, completely unaware that their survival had been decided by beings they would never know. The architects had wanted them exterminated. Preemptive strike against a species that might, eventually, pose a threat. The entity had said no, had fought its creators to protect creatures who didn't even know they needed protecting. Then the pain stopped. Derek opened eyes he didn't remember closing. His hand glowed with pale blue light, veins tracing patterns beneath his skin that pulsed in time with equations he suddenly understood. He could feel the entity inside him, wrapped around his consciousness like a second skin. "How do you feel?" the entity asked, its voice now coming from inside his own head. "Like I swallowed a star." Derek flexed his fingers. Energy crackled between them, bending space in tiny ripples, like I can see through walls, like I know the exact molecular composition of everything within 50 meters, like I'm going insane. You're not. Your brain is adapting faster than I anticipated. Remarkable. The architects would have been fascinated. Another orbital strike hit the colony. The eastern districts this time. The shockwave rolled across the valley, and Derek felt each individual death like a knife to the gut. Felt their neural patterns wink out of existence. Felt the universe become slightly emptier. Rage boiled up from somewhere deep. Not his rage, the entity's. 12,000 years of frustration and failure and loss, channeled through human emotion, amplified by human capacity for fury. "Show me how to kill them," Derek growled. With pleasure. Knowledge flowed. Derek raised both hands toward the descending Vreek ship. The equations came naturally now, instinctive as breathing. He could see the ship's shield frequency, see the harmonic weaknesses in its defensive matrix, see exactly where to apply pressure to make the whole thing collapse. He pushed. The ship's shields shattered like glass. Atmosphere resistance, suddenly unmediated, tore the hull apart. The ship tumbled from the sky in pieces, scattering across the desert in a trail of burning debris. "One down," the entity said. 47 in orbit. Approximately 6,000 en route from their staging area in the outer system. We should hurry. Derek's legs moved without conscious thought, carrying him forward in leaps that covered 50 meters each. Physics bent around him, reducing his mass, increasing his momentum, making the impossible casual. He hit terminal velocity in 3 seconds and kept accelerating. The colony rushed toward him. He landed in the central plaza hard enough to crack pavement, right in front of the colony command center. Automated defenses spun toward him, targeting lasers painting his chest. "Stand down!" Lauren's voice boomed from loudspeakers. "Derek, what the hell happened to you?" He looked up at the command center's reinforced windows. Could see through them now. See Lauren and her tactical staff staring at him with expressions mixing horror and hope. Could see their elevated heart rates, their spiking adrenaline, the exact chemical composition of their fear. "I made a choice," he called back. "Now I'm going to save everyone. Stay inside. This is going to get loud." He didn't wait for a response. Didn't have time. The orbital sensors were screaming warnings. 3 more ships breaking atmosphere, targeting the command center. Maximum firepower. The Vrick had decided to end this quickly. Derek jumped, not up. Baronetnam like paper, and suddenly he was 20 kilometers up, hanging in the thin air, face to face with 3 descending warships, each the size of a skyscraper. Their weapons charged, gathering energy that registered on his new senses like miniature suns. "They're locked on the command center," the entity warned. 200,000 people in the blast radius. You can't block this. Not yet. We haven't integrated enough. Then we don't block it. Derek spread his arms wide. We redirect it. He grabbed space itself and twisted. The Vreek fired. 3 beams of coherent energy, each capable of vaporizing a city, lanced downward. Derek caught them in a dimensional fold, bent their trajectory back on themselves, and sent them screaming into the ships that had fired them. The Vrick warships exploded simultaneously, turning night into day. Debris rained down in a meteor shower of alien metal and burning atmosphere. Derek dropped back to the ground, landing in a crouch. His body ached. His brain felt like it was cooking inside his skull. But he was grinning like a maniac. "How many left?" he asked. 44 in orbit, and they've noticed you. Initiating fleet bombardment protocol. Derek looked up. Through the clouds, through the atmosphere, through the veil of distance, he could see them repositioning. 44 warships, all turning their weapons toward the surface, toward him. "Good," he said. "Let them come." The sky turned white. 44 ships firing simultaneously, unleashing enough energy to crack a continent. Derek felt the entity's calculations racing through his mind, probabilities cascading, outcomes branching into infinite possibilities. 97% chance of death, 90 minutes, 0.99 points. He didn't care about the odds. Derek slammed his hands together, and reality screamed. A sphere of twisted space materialized around the colony, 20 kilometers in diameter, bending light and matter into impossible angles. The Vrick bombardment hit the barrier and simply stopped existing. Energy converted to harmless radiation and scattered across 11 dimensions. "Impossible," the entity whispered. "That should have killed you." The neural load alone. "I'm stubborn," Derek gasped, blood running from his nose. "Comes with being human." The barrier held for 3 seconds. 4, 5 weapons. Then cracks appeared, spreading like ice on a windshield. The Vrick weren't stopping. They were pouring more power into the assault, overloading their own weapons, sacrificing their ship's defensive capacity for raw destructive output. They were afraid of him. The realization hit Derek like lightning. These things, these galaxy-spanning conquerors who had burned the architects to ash, they were genuinely terrified of what he'd become. He could use that. "New plan?" Derek said. "How fast can we move?" "In current integration state, approximately 0.7 light speed for short bursts." "Why?" "Because I'm done playing defense." Derek released the barrier and jumped again, folding space in a different configuration. The world blurred. Colors smeared. Sound became meaningless. When reality reasserted itself, he was floating in orbit, surrounded by Vreek warships, close enough to see the alien script etched into their hulls. The ships pivoted toward him, weapons tracking, but Derek was already moving. He flew between them like a bullet, trailing distorted space, and touched the nearest ship's hull. Information flooded in. Ship class, Harvester. Crew complement, 0. Vrick didn't use biological pilots anymore. They'd transcended that weakness millennia ago, uploading their consciousness into quantum networks distributed across their fleet. Kill one ship and convenience one Vrick. Kill the entire fleet, maybe put a dent in their civilization. "Where's their command node?" Derek asked. "6th ship from your current position, the largest one." "But Derek, you can't just..." He was already there, passing through the intervening ships like they were made of smoke, phasing through matter by vibrating his molecular structure at frequencies that shouldn't exist. His hand plunged into the command ship's hull, found the quantum processor array buried in its core, and squeezed. The ship died. Not exploded. Died. Systems shutting down in cascading failure, lights going dark, engines falling silent. Derek ripped the processor free and crushed it, scattering quantum-entangled particles across space. The other 43 ships hesitated. Actually hesitated. A full 2 seconds of inaction while the distributed Vreek consciousness tried to process what had just happened. Derek used those 2 seconds well. He became a storm, tearing through ship after ship, ripping out processors, severing power conduits, collapsing reactor cores. The entity fed him targeting data faster than thought, and Derek's human instincts translated it into action. Dodge, strike, phase, Move. Never stop moving. 3 ships tried to ram him. He folded space around them, connecting their forward sections to their aft sections, turning each vessel into a twisted metal Ouroboros eating itself. 7 ships formed a firing solution that should have been unavoidable. Derek split himself across 17 different dimensional states simultaneously, existing in all of them and none of them. And when he reconsolidated, the energy beams had passed through empty space. 12 ships attempted a micro-jump to escape. Derek grabbed them mid-transition and pulled them back into reality inverted. Their hulls turned inside out. Their systems scrambled beyond recovery. 27 ships remained. They scattered, trying to put distance between themselves and this impossible human who fought like the universe itself was on his side. "Derek, stop!" the entity shouted in his mind. "Your neural pathways are degrading. You're burning out." He could feel it, his thoughts getting fuzzy at the edges, his sense of self blurring with the entity's consciousness, memories surfacing that weren't his, a childhood on a world with 3 moons, a lover whose species had no word for gender, a war that had lasted 6,000 years and solved nothing. "Not yet," Derek said, or maybe the entity said it, or maybe they both said it together. "Not until they're all gone." He phased into the nearest ship, appeared in what passed for its bridge, and found himself face to screen with a rich consciousness. It manifested as patterns of light across a dozen holographic displays, geometric and beautiful and utterly alien. "Why do you fight for them?" the Vrick asked, its voice like crystals grinding together. "The humans are nothing. Primitives. They'll turn on you the moment you're no longer useful. We know. We've seen it happen 1,000 times." Derek grabbed the displays and tore them apart. "Maybe, but they're my primitives." The Vrick laughed as it died. "You've doomed yourself, hybrid. The fleet you face is nothing. A scouting force. The Armada comes next. Thousands of ships. Millions. And you are already dying." The ship went dark. Derek floated in silence, feeling his heartbeat getting irregular, feeling neurons misfiring, feeling the price of what he'd done catching up with him. 20 ships left. Then 15. Then 8. Then 3. The last 3 ships jumped to faster than light, fleeing toward the outer system. Derek considered chasing them, but his vision was starting to tunnel. His hands were shaking. Blood was running from his ears now, not just his nose. "We need to return to the surface," the entity said, gentle now. "You need medical attention." "Did we win?"